All right, we're going to start with grammar on page 97. So go ahead and turn to page 97.
Where's it? Where's the book? Oh, no. Here it is.
Page 97. Okay. Phrase versus clause. That's what we're going to talk about today. So those are two different things. They are both groups of words, but they're a little different. So a phrase is a group of related words. I'm going to ask Paisley, go ahead and mute because for some reason it's picking up like little background sounds. There we go. A phrase is a group of related words that contains either a noun or a verb, never both. Okay, so obviously these are both parts of a sentence. They're not going to be complete sentences. So a phrase never has a noun and a verb, only one or the other. The most common phrase is the prepositional phrase. You guys already know what that is, which never has a verb. Okay, then a clause is a group of related words that contains both a subject and a verb. And we have a couple different clauses here. We have main clause. We know what that is. We've already labeled that in our grammar. It stands alone as a sentence. It expresses a complete thought. So that's one of those where you can take out other parts of the sentence, but the main clause remains and it keeps, it's a full sentence. And then a dependent clause cannot stand alone as a sentence. It must be added to a sentence that is already complete. And here are a couple examples of those. You learned three types so far of the dependent clauses. Who, which, we're super familiar with that. We label it in our grammar book and we use it in our writing. That clauses and adverb clause. So those are the three types of dependent clauses where you can remove those and the sentence is still complete without those. So that's why they're dependent on the rest of the sentence. Okay, now we're going to do a little practice here, and we're going to decide if the group of words is either a phrase or a clause based on what we learned up here in that part. So we're comparing phrases and clauses. Decide if the following is a phrase or a clause, and then just circle the correct answer. All right, so for example, and remember, let's just review really quick. A phrase that has either, oops, sorry, my light is, hold on, there we go. A phrase contains either a noun or a verb. And you can think of a prepositional phrase. A clause has both a subject and a verb. And then there's these two different clauses that you could look for, but both of them are considered clauses. So it has both, whereas the phrase has one or the other. So we have to pay attention to nouns and verbs, basically. So this first one here is he approached the log, and we have a noun, log, and we have the verb approached. It has both, right? Actually, I think an easiest way to do this is to underline. Actually, no, sorry. Hopefully you didn't underline yet. Let's do V and S like we do in our normal practice pages. So this has both. So that means it is a clause. Near the tall oak tree, well, we have tree as the noun or the subject. And near is not a verb, actually. So that would actually be a preposition, right? That would be a prepositional phrase. So this one is a phrase. All right, now you guys are going to help me with the last four here. So Paisley, go ahead and read this group of words right here.
That was 100 years old.
That was 100 years old. Okay, so in that sentence, that's a little bit tricky because we have was is actually the verb because it's a helping verb, right? If I asked you what was, Paisley, what would be the subject in that sentence?
Oh, 100.
Actually, it's right before it. right here?
That.
That, good. So that is the subject verb pair. So does that mean it's a phrase or a clause? Paisley,
Clause.
good. Clause. All right, Bronx, go ahead and read the next group of words.
Beneath a full moon.
Actually, right above that, we're on this one.
Oh, where a stronger stood.
This is stranger, actually. There you go.
Where a stranger stood.
Where a stranger stood. So we've got stood as the verb. What's the subject?
Clause. Oh, sorry. Stranger.
Good. So we have both. So what kind of group of words is this?
Clause.
Correct. Clause has both. Good. Back to Paisley. Go ahead and read these groups of words right here.
Beneath a full moon.
Beneath a full moon.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Phrase.
It's actually a phrase, and you might have recognized beneath is a preposition. But we have the subject is moon, right? We have the subject, but no verb with it. So you're correct. It is a phrase. Back to Bronx.
Beneath. Oh wait. Which shone brightly.
Which shone brightly. What's our verb in that sentence? What's the
Brightly.
that would be an adjective. That's or an adverb actually. But what is it? What's the action?
Shone.
Shown. Do you know what shown is? It's like the past tense of shine. So instead of shined, it's shown. That's how it is in English. And then if you ask what the subject is, the subject is actually which. It's referring to something else. It's all pretty much like a pronoun because it's referring to something before in the sentence. We don't know what it is yet, but it has both the subject and verb. So does that make it a phrase or a clause? Bronx.
A clause.
A clause, correct. Yep. All right, good job on that. Just to show you the differences between phrases and clauses. Down here, a dependent clauses begin with a word that causes them to be an incomplete thought. Draw lines to connect the type of clause to the word that would begin the clause. Well, this is pretty easy for the first clause, who, which. So basically what you're going to do is draw a line to who, and then which is way over here. So you can decide how you want to get there. I'm just going to go across the top here and then down like that. But if you want to squiggle in between, that's fine. But this one is obvious, right? The who, which clause connects, you're going to connect to who and which. Obviously the that clause, what should we connect to that clause, Paisley? What starts at that clause? You're muted.
That.
Yeah, easy. Just go right to that. Adverb clause, that is do you remember this one? Go ahead and write this above here, www.asia. Do you remember what that stands for? You might have to peek back in your book. What are the 3 W's? We'll start with that. If you have to look back, I'll tell you what page here. I think we just recently talked about it. Oh, it's probably in the back of your book too. Hold on. Hold on. Where is it? It should be. Yep. Look at page 198 at the bottom of page 198. It's right there. So look for 198 and then Bronx, tell us what the W's are.
A which clause?
Okay, look at, are you on 198? Just kind of hold your place on page 97 here, and then flip to the very last page of your book. It's on 198. And if you look at the bottom, at the very last part of that page, it says www.asia.b.
When, while, where?
Yes. Okay. So we got to draw the lines. So we got to go to when and while, and where is not on there. And then back to Paisley. What about ASIA on page 198? What is A stand for?
As, since, if,
So as, since, if is already connected. And then although is not on there. So good, Paisley. And then none. That just basically is what's left there. Then it and at. A lot of lines there, but you get the idea. Okay, you're connecting those clauses to the words that begin those clauses. And then there aren't any clauses that begin with then, at, or it. All right, any questions about what we just did there? No, you're good. Okay, at the very bottom, every clause contains, what are the two things that they contain? What do you look for? Do you know the answer, Bronx? What are the two things that they contain?
Can you say that again? I couldn't really hear because you kind of glitched a little.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm at the last, we got to fill in the blanks here. It says every clause contains a blank and a blank. We looked for them up here. Do you remember what they were?
Yeah, a subject and a verb.
Yeah, you got it. Good job. So subject, go ahead and write that in, and a verb. Every clause contains a subject and a verb. All right, let's go on to the practice page, which is on 99. Guys, you got to break 100 this week. Woohoo! Okay. Paisley, would you please read the sentence for us? Oh, you got to unmute though.
until that day, Robin had never met a larger man. Usually, Robin towered
Uh-huh.
over others.
Good job reading. All right. Towered. Just basically means he's tall, right? He's towering means he's really tall, and he's taller than the people around him. I'm thinking like a basketball player. Bronx can relate to that. Like a pro basketball player, those guys are crazy tall. Some of them are like 7 feet tall, right?
Yeah, there's some there's some tall guys on the high school too. I was like, oh my goodness, this is not gonna be a fun game.
Uh-oh. Yeah. And they do have an advantage if they're really tall. They're closer to the net, right? And usually a tall guy has really long arms, so he can like reach over everybody else. Yeah. I guess that's why the NBA, they're always looking for tall guys there. So all right, towered. So we'll put a check mark there. Articles, you guys know the drill. Go ahead and find those. There's only one right here. Paisley, how about nouns? What do we have as far as nouns here? Go ahead and unmute. Oh, she's frozen. Oh, wait, are you frozen, Bronx? You guys are both frozen? Uh-oh. Whoa, you both froze for a second. Was I frozen too?
You were frozen.
What if it's me? Ah. Well, I'm not frozen anymore, so we'll continue. So Paisley, can you help us find 4 nouns?
Robin,
Okay,
Dan, Robin, and
okay.
Day is Day.
Did you say man too?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then day, yep. Those are the 4. Good job. Pronoun, Bronx.
Others.
Yes, good. All right, since you just had the 1, how about Bronx go on to adjectives? Those are the words that describe the nouns.
That.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's describing which day, that day.
Larger.
Yep. Oh, that's it. Just those 2. Good job. Paisley, how about adverbs? Remember, those are kind of giving more information about the verb. They're modifying the verb. So let's start by finding the verbs first, Paisley. Where are the verbs here?
Robin
Had, that's a helping verb. Good.
is never.
For some reason, it's like really, you're quiet. I don't know if you have something covering your microphone. I can hear you, but it's just barely.
Can you hear me now?
And kind of, we can make it work, but what was the other one you said after had?
Never.
Never, no, that's actually an adverb.
Oh, met.
Yeah, there you go. Met. And then there's one more at the second half down here, a verb. Towered, good. Okay, so now that we have the verbs, I kind of gave away one of the adjectives, but there's 2 adjectives that tell more about the verb.
Never.
Oh, wait, I'm saying adjectives. I'm saying the wrong word. It's adverbs. Hello. Never, good. That's an adverb. So ADV. And then what's one more adverb?
Unusually.
Good. That one has an ly. We know the ly adverb is pretty good. Good job. So prepositional phrases, we'll figure out the subjects in a little bit here, but Bronx prepositional phrases, there's 2 of them. If you need to check in the back of your book about what those prepositions are, you can.
I think I got this.
Okay.
Until that day.
Yes, until that day, and there's one more.
Towered over others.
No, not towered, because that's a verb. Remember, it has to start with a preposition.
Over others.
Yep, that's it. Good job. Over others. Good. Main clauses. You know, before we find that, I'm going to ask Paisley, what are the subject verbs that go? We found the 3 verbs, but we need to figure out where the subjects are. So if I have the verb had, who are we talking about here, Paisley? Yeah, Robin. And then if I looked at towered, who are we talking about here?
Robin.
Robin again. All right, now that'll help us find our main clauses. We got the subject verb pairs, but the main clauses, Bronx, they always have a subject verb pair. Remember, we talked about clauses have that, both of those. So where's the first clause?
For what?
Okay, so there's two main clauses. Remember, they start with the subject and end with a noun, and they always have a verb in there too, subject and verb.
Robin.
Okay, there's your subject. So that's the beginning of the clause. And then how far does it go?
Had.
So the whole clause actually ends on a noun, remember?
Oh, okay. So man.
So man. So it would be the whole clause is Robin had never met a larger man. Remember on the page before, on our practice page, we filled in those two words. A clause has a subject, always has a subject and a verb. And the other rule is it ends with a noun. Okay, so you're right. Robin had never met a larger man. What's the other main clause? Let's see if Paisley can find the other one.
Robin towered over others.
Yeah, good, because this one ends with a pronoun. I should have said earlier, it could be a noun or a pronoun. That's usually how the phrase ends. Or I said phrase, I mean clause, the main clause. Okay, those are the two main clauses. Phrases only have either a subject or a verb, remember, but clauses have both. All right, we have an opener here. Now the openers we haven't used a whole lot, but this already gives you a clue because it's a prepositional phrase. So this is a prepositional opener, and that is number 2. So go ahead and put a 2 up here. And remember, you can always look back in the back of your book, write prepositional there. On page, let me just double check here. I'm thinking it's back here. You know what? They didn't put it back here. And that bothers me because they should have. You should have a list of the openers. But you can go back to, remember I showed you how to go back to the table of contents and look back. And you might even have a post-it note there for the prepositional openers or for just the openers in general. All right, so does anybody know, it's right here at the word usually, what kind of an opener is that sentence? You guys know? Go ahead, Bronx.
I believe ly adverb.
Yes, good. It's an adverb opener, and that, do you know what number that is? Do you remember?
3.
Good, yes, excellent. So go ahead and write ly adverb for the name of that opener there. That's right, good job. And then we've got some capitals here. So I know I'm running out of room, but you guys know the first word is capital. Robin should be capital. And by the way, the sentence ends right here. Go ahead and put a period after man, because this is actually 2 sentences. And a period here. So that means this should be capital. And then Robin again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it. All right. That was a lot to fix. I'm going to let you rewrite the sentence later after class. So your homework will be obviously the next 3 pages, and I will still attach the answer key for you to check after you do those 3 pages. Any questions about the grammar homework or anything? You're good. Okay. All right. Done with grammar for this morning. Let me set that aside. Now you do need your homework from this last week. We're going to talk a little bit about Mike the Headless Chicken, just for a minute. And then we're moving on to the next thing. I want you to get out your Mike the Headless Chicken homework and your checklist. Those 2 things are what we're going to focus on here. And I talked to your sister earlier, Bronx, but I don't know if your mom had a chance to see my email. I'm kind of late in emailing her back about the other story that you guys wrote about last time, which was what'd you guys write about? Man, the weeks are blending together. Oh, dangerous birds. Remember when you guys wrote about dangerous birds? So your mom emailed me your paragraphs about that. And your all your stuff, like your outline and everything. And then I emailed her back and I gave her a comment about it because, and Paisley, sometimes you forget too, but both of you guys are forgetting to use your checklist. Paisley, you're doing pretty good at underlining your words that you're using. You're missing a couple of things here, but Bronx, you keep forgetting to underline all your dress up words and your topic clincher. So we're going to talk about that for a minute. For Mike the Headless Chicken. All right. From now on, I'm going to require that you actually submit your checklist to me every week when you have this part of your writing, because I actually want to see you physically check your checklist, put little checks in the boxes as you go. So, I'm going to stop share just for a second here. Paisley, do you mind if I pull up your homework as an example? Is that okay with you?
Sure, it's not 100% done. I didn't get all the topic punches and all of that, so I always put that in last.
Okay, that's all right. I know that's okay. And, for the record, Bronx didn't either. So you're in the same boat. So it's okay. And I'm not picking on you at all because this is part of what we're learning here. So let me just find it really quick. Okay. Hold on just a second. I have it. Let me see where you're at here. Okay, Paisley. Yeah, I'm not picking on you at all. Okay, Paisley, because this is still kind of, we're all getting used to using this checklist. So don't feel bad if you don't have it all yet. Okay. And so here, and it looks like you're on there right now too, which is fine. I don't mind. Here's her Mike the Headless Chicken story. And you guys are going to have to look at, because I can't share the screen for both of these things, but look at your checklist while I'm talking about this, okay? So notice at the very top, there's a spot for your name. I do want you to write your name in there. And then under where it says structure, that's where I'm starting. You guys follow me, okay? On your checklist. Let me just show you, just to make sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you the checklist here. So this is where I'm at, right underneath where it says structure. I'm going to go item by item, and I'm going to talk you through it because I can't share the checklist and Paisley's page at the same time. So I want you to be looking at this as I talk about it. Okay, so it won't let me share both. The first thing on the checklist is name and date in the upper left-hand corner. And Paisley did a great job at that right here. She's at the upper left-hand corner. She's got both her name and the date. So she would put a check in that box. The next one says composition is double spaced. Obviously, she has hers double spaced, so she can check that box. The next one says title centered and repeats 1 to 3 words from the final sentence. So she's got her title right here. And it's centered, and it's a new title. It's not Mike the Headless Chicken anymore. She named it Mike and the Farmers, which is fine. That's a good title. And then I know you're still working right here, Paisley, and it's okay. But when you get to the end of this paragraph, you got to make sure to tie in Mike and the Farmers in that last sentence. So you won't check that box yet. You're going to leave it blank until you get to that part. And by the way, a little side note, when you have a title, you actually have to capitalize the keywords in the title. So and the are not keywords, but Mike is and Farmers. So you would actually go ahead, and I know you're on there right now, Paisley. Go ahead and change that to a capital F for Farmers up here at the very top for your title. Yep, there you go. So that's how you do titles. Those keywords are always capital, but the other words you can leave lowercase. So that's good. Then we have on your checklist, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4th, the 4th box down. What does yours say, Bronx, on the 4th box down on your checklist? Can you read that?
On structure or 22
Yeah, on structure.
Checklist on top, final draft, rough draft, keyword outline.
Okay, so that one's the 5th box. So, and we don't have to worry about that one. You can actually draw a line through that. because that's only if we're meeting in class in person. So you don't have to do that one. I'm talking about the one like right above that.
Topic, clincher, sentence, repeat or reflect 2, 3 keywords, highlight or bold.
Okay, good. And topic and clincher, and I wanted to point out, Paisley, you're doing a great job with this. She has right here, see how this is bold, chicken farmers? And then down here, she has rooster bolded and farmers bolded. Now, if you're handwriting it, and I know Bronx, you prefer handwriting, you can actually use a little physical highlighter, you know, yellow or green or whatever color you want to use. Or you can make it darker with your pencil, either way. But that's what I'm looking for. The topic and clincher sentences either have a repeat or reflect 2 to 3 key words. So you did great on that, Paisley. So her sentence is, one day Lloyd and Claire, who were struggling chicken farmers, needed to prepare for the meat market by killing and processing chickens. And then her ending sentence, her clincher starts here. This rooster and the farmers are exciting. And so you just need to make sure that's a capital right there for this, because it's a new sentence and you need a period at the end. But she's got her clinchers here. Topic clincher, it repeats, farmers is repeated. And then instead of chicken, she said rooster, and that is correct. You do need an extra O there in rooster, by the way. But that's what we're looking for. Okay, so Bronx, when you go to do your topic clincher, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for either 2 or 3 words that are the same or that reflect, which means like a synonym for each other. Okay, so she has that for her first paragraph, but Paisley, you still need to do it. I know you're still working on it, which is fine. You need to do it for 2 and 3. Paragraphs 2 and paragraph 3 do the same thing. Topic clincher. I could call it topper. It's kind of like combined together. Anyway, you need that for all of your paragraphs. And then you can put a check mark at that box. Okay, now going on your next section of your checklist. So Paisley, do you see that word style on your checklist? And then you see paragraph 1, 2, and 3, where it says dress ups. Okay, so read those dress up words. These are the words you need to make sure to include in each paragraph. So go ahead and tell us what the dress up words are.
Ly, adverb, to which clause, and strong verb, because clause.
And then a because clause. So there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each paragraph should have 4 words underlined. I see who, I see surprisingly, and that's all I see for underline for your first sentence.
I did have more, but because I had to move stuff around.
Okay, you're still working on it. I know you are. Okay, so what she could do, Bronx, is check off for paragraph 1, she can check ly adverb, she has surprisingly, and she can check who. So she's going to leave the others blank, right? And then later when she finishes, she'll add a strong verb and a because clause, and then she can check those boxes. You guys follow what I'm saying here? That's how you use your checklist. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you guys. Okay, good. Because it's really important. This is how I'm grading your work. So like, for instance, and this is just for example, okay, Paisley, I'm not really saying this about yours, but let's pretend for a second, Paisley turns it in just like this. Well, she's got a lot of things there, but she's missing some stuff still. I know she won't turn it in like that because she's planning on finishing it, but if she did, we'll just pretend for a second, I would have to take off some points. I would have to take off some points for missing her topic clincher and missing a few dress up words. So I might give her like a 7 out of 10. So I wanted to explain that to you guys in detail because it's really, 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 really important for you to use your checklist. And now, like I said earlier, from now on, you have to upload with your homework your physical checklist with the check marks on everything. because that way I know you read it and you included it. So back to Bronx, look on your checklist. So do you see where it says check for banned words? What are our banned words now?
Eat, ate, go, and went.
Okay, but you're missing more. Look to the next to where it says check for banned words. There's more there.
Oh, say, said, see, saw, thought, think, thought, eat, ate, and go, went.
Yeah, so you got a lot there, and that list is going to keep growing. So it's going to be a little tricky to remember all those, but I haven't read this yet, but just glancing, I don't see any banned words so far in yours, Paisley. So good job with that. But here's what you're going to do though, before you turn it in officially, you'll go back and look for banned words. That's the way I do it. I go back and I actually look for the words to see if I accidentally used them. And then at the very bottom of your checklist, the mechanics, that's pretty easy. Capitalization, end marks and punctuation, complete sentences. Does it make sense? That's another really important piece. When you're asking yourself if it makes sense, you got to read it out loud. A lot of times you'll catch the little problems in there and you can fix it before you turn it in. And then your spelling, I'm not super worried about the spelling. Is the nice thing, like for Paisley, it usually will give you a red line if you have a misspelled word, but you want to hand it to your editor. Remember how we talked about that several weeks ago? Hand it to your editor to have them just read it too, to make sure your spelling and your grammar is good. Then you turn it in. Okay, those are all the steps. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now. So back to this. I know I'm repeating myself a bunch, but I really want to get it in your head. And also I wanted to say, I know Abby's in this class and she's probably watching the recording. Abby, you did a great job following your checklist. And I do always see those words underlined. So good job there following the list, because this is super, super, super important to remember. So from now on, you guys will take a picture or scan with your check marks. Because then if I see a check mark, like on Bronx, if I see a check mark for paragraph 2 on LY adverb, and I look at your homework and I don't see an LY adverb underlined, I'm going to wonder why there's a check mark there, because that means you thought about it and you thought it was in there. So you want to make sure you only check it if it's there. All right. Adverbs. We talked about that a little bit in your grammar part of the class, but when you're looking for a place to put an adverb, and I'm going to share Paisley's one more time. I'm sorry for picking on you, Paisley, but your story looks really good. So it's going to be a good one when you're done. When you're looking for a place to put an adverb, like here's a great example. Let's look at this. Let's see, where does the sentence end? Right here, this sentence. Mike quickly became very famous, and because of his fame, they made $4,500 a month, charging 50 cents to look at the headless chicken. That's a great sentence. You don't need to capitalize because right here, you're probably in the middle of fixing that. So, but you have the word quickly, which is a great adverb, a way to help you find where to put the adverb, because actually Bronx and Paisley and Abby struggle with this sometimes, figuring out what adverb to use and where to put it. You can look for a verb, like here, became, that's a verb. And right before that is where you can put your adverb. And Paisley did a great job on this one. She said quickly became. That makes sense. If I wanted to pick another verb, I'm just randomly picking a verb here. Worked. That's a verb, right? That's an action. Who worked at the sideshow maybe you could put an adverb here if you wanted to, but see how I find the verb first, and then I think of an adverb. Can either of you think of an adverb you could put right before worked? So the sentence, part of that sentence says, Hope Wade, who blankly worked at the sideshow. What is an ly? Somethingly worked that we could put there. Adverbs are tricky. I know you guys are still working with those. At the
Happily.
front, okay, hold on just a second, Paisley, but at the front of your binder, remember where you keep your pink adverb list? Pull that out really quick. This will help you, because I really want you to get into the habit of figuring out what your adverbs are and where to put them. This is the easiest way. Look for a verb like worked. Look at your adverb list. Did you have an idea, Paisley?
Happily.
Happily, that's a good one. Hope Wade, who happily worked at the sideshow. There's other emotions. If you look under emotions on your pink list, eagerly worked, proudly. Hope Wade, who proudly worked at the sideshow. You have one, Bronx?
Loudly, or did you already say?
Loudly. No, I didn't say that one yet, but that would work. Loudly. Maybe he's a loud guy. Maybe he's got a big voice or something, you know?
Madly? No, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Let's see. What's another one from your list?
Nicely worked.
Yeah, nicely worked. That would work. I think probably more under the emotion section of your adverb list. I think those might be confidently. That would work, like confidently worked at the sideshow. You could say,
Faithfully worked.
say that one more time.
Faithfully worked.
Faithfully. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so you get the idea. Let me pick another verb here, just a random verb. Let's see. Staying in a hotel. Lloyd, Claire, and Mike were somethingly staying in a hotel room.
Comfortably. Yeah, and
Wait, I couldn't quite hear that, Paisley. Say it again.
comfortably.
Humbly, is that what you said?
Comfortable.
Oh, comfortably. Yeah, there you go. Comfortably. That's a good one. Sorry, for whatever your reason, your microphone is like really soft, quiet. So comfortably staying, that's a good one. Evidently, look under how likely on your pink list. You could say one day, after 2 years, Lloyd, Claire, and Mike were evidently staying in a hotel room. So you could use evidently. So get my drift. You look, oh, here's a good one. Let's look at choking. That's a verb. Okay, so Lloyd and Claire woke up to Mike somethingly choking. And it doesn't have to be on this pink list, but what do you guys think? What could you say there?
I did have sadly there, but then I moved it to after.
Okay, yeah, I do see sadly down here. And actually, Paisley, sadly would work better next to choking. Actually, let me look at this. Sadly, Mike died. Yeah, so sadly died. That goes with the verb died. So no, you can leave it there. That's a good spot for it. But if you wanted to add another one, it could be, do you have an idea, Bronx, of Mike somethingly choking? You don't have any ideas? I'm thinking the first one that pops.
Um,
Go ahead.
Unfortunately.
Yes, that's a good one. I'm thinking tragically, right? That's a good one. It's not on this list, I don't think. I was looking for it. Tragically choking. Suddenly choking. Shockingly, I don't know if that one's on this list either, but I'm thinking of, I'm imagining being in the hotel room and all of a sudden you hear this. I can't even imagine what it sounded like. A gurgle, I guess, because he really didn't have a voice. Poor guy.
Horrifically.
There you go. Horrifically. Perfect. So you get the idea. So when you're looking for an ly adverb, look for your verbs first. And then the easiest way to do it is right before the verb, think of a way you can describe it. The term is modifying a verb, which basically means you're adding to the verb. You're describing it a little bit more. So horrifically choking, it implies that it was, horrible, horrific. So that's how you do your adverbs. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. I also wanted to explain topic, clincher, sentence. We already went over that. Basically looking for those repeat or reflect words. Okay. We're moving on. Go ahead and you're going to move everything now from Mike the Headless Chicken, unless you're not done with it yet. Are you still working on yours, Bronx, too? You are, huh? Oh, no, you're done?
Yeah.
You're done. Okay. If you're done, go ahead and move everything for the Mike the Headless Chicken behind finished compositions. If you're still working on it, keep it at the front. And obviously keep your band words list and your ly adverbs list. All those lists can stay at the front, but move, because we're done with Mike the Headless Chicken. So sorry, Mike, you're gone now. So moving on. Poor guy. Now, in your binder, I'm humanizing the chicken. Obviously, the chicken doesn't have feelings. I mean, they're animals. So, and it's funny, we do that. I do that with my dogs too. I'm like, oh, she's cold or scared. She's like worried, or she's, they don't necessarily have those feelings like we do. But it's easy to humanize animals because they're so cute. Okay. The next section of your binder starts on page 81. So you're going to pull out 81 all the way through 88. That's the next section. It's called Week 9, Captain Cook. So go ahead and take that out of your binder. 81 to 88 is the next part of our lessons that we're doing here. I always have you take this page out now, even though we don't use this page, just to keep it all together. But that is page 81. If you were doing this without me, this is the pacing for that. So we don't really need that one. But we are going to start with the story about Captain Cook. So you need that, and then it's a 2-pager, actually technically 3-pager. And then the checklist. Okay, so we have the story, Captain Cook, and then we have the checklist. So make sure you have those with you. We're still summarizing a reference, and that's what we did with Mike the Headless Chicken. So this is just another practice for that, because I really want you guys to get that skill down where we have a longer text. This is called the source text. And the source text has a lot of information in it and a lot of facts. And, we've been talking about funneling those facts into just a few to summarize what you want to write your report on. So this is like academic report writing that we're going to continue to talk about in this unit. Hey. Shh. No. Hey. They're not listening to me. Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you can hear my dogs, but they were being loud. Captain Cook. So we're talking about the subject Captain Cook, which is kind of cool and entertaining. This is a true story. And we're going to think about some facts as I read this story. Now, remember when we did Mike the Headless Chicken, you guys looked for 3 types of facts. Do you guys remember what you were looking for? Something interesting or relevant or important. Those are the 3 types of facts you're looking for. Interesting, relevant, or important. Because what you're going to do is take a bunch of facts and decide which ones you want to focus on when you go to do your report. Now, this is actually a person, so it would be good to focus on how, his early life and who he was and introducing him, because if you go right into something he did, the reader won't have any context with who you're talking about. So obviously one of your most important facts is going to be who he is and when he was born and kind of about his life, okay, in the beginning. But as I read this, I want you to annotate in your story. You can either put a little star or underline, but you're going to be listening for important, relevant, or interesting facts about this guy, Captain Cook. And we're going to take look how many paragraphs we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs. Probably 15 to 20 facts in here. And you're going to narrow it down to 6 for each paragraph. I'm sorry, you're going to narrow it down to 3 topics for your 3 paragraphs, and then 6 facts about each one of those topics. So let me remind you again. So the subject is the main, what we're talking about here, Captain Cook, that's the subject. The topics are within here. You're going to choose 3 topics. And then the facts support the topic that you choose. And there's going to be 6 for each topic. Okay. And we'll go over that again after we read this. But just for now, I just want to read it and you underline anything that you find interesting or important or relevant. It can be more than 3 topics. It could be more than that. And then we'll narrow down. So go ahead and do that as I read this, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Born in 1728, James Cook was the son of a Scottish migrant farmer who had settled in Yorkshire, England. As a child, he had a sharp and curious mind, and his father was able to pay for schooling until the age of 12. After that, he worked on the farm with his father until he was 16. By the way, we don't have to pay for school anymore. The government does that for you if you go to a public school. So either the government wasn't paying for the school yet, or he went to a private school, but we'll find out more information as we go. Then he was apprenticed to a shopkeeper near a harbor where he became familiar with ships and trade. At 18, he began working on North Sea trading ships, and by 21, he was rated able seaman. Sailing the dangerous and difficult waters of the North Sea provided superb practical experience, and he used his time on land helping to refit ships by day while studying algebra, trigonometry, and astronomy at night. This guy was very smart. He was promoted to the rank of mate in 1752, and 3 years after that, he was offered command of a bark. The son of a poor farmhand had rapidly advanced and could have been a sea captain at the age of 27. Although he likely would have found success and wealth as a merchant captain, in 1755 he volunteered as an able seaman in the British Navy, which offered a more interesting career and opportunity for wider travel. His tall, commanding appearance, his meticulous attention to detail, and his sharp mind caught the eye of his superior officers. Within 2 years, he was rapidly promoted to master's mate, boatswain, and then to master. During the 7 Years' War between Britain and France, he saw action and took command of a captured ship. He was especially skilled at charting and map making, and after the war ended, he commanded a small schooner, I think is how that's pronounced, while surveying and mapping the coasts of Newfoundland. In 1766, he observed an eclipse of the sun and reported in detail to the Royal Society. This was an unusual thing for a non-commissioned officer to do. In 1768, the Royal Society planned a scientific expedition to the Pacific Ocean, and James Cook was chosen to command the voyage. Commissioned as a lieutenant and given a sturdy merchant bark, the HMS Endeavour, he was instructed to transport scientists of the Royal Society to Tahiti so that they could observe the movement of Venus across the sun. He would then proceed south to find Terra Australis, a southern continent that many natural philosophers thought must exist. After visiting Tahiti, he did sail southwest, but did not find a new continent. He eventually reached New Zealand, where he spent 6 months charting all the islands. Then crossing the Tasman Sea, he came to Australia and sailed north along its eastern coast, surveying and mapping as he went. After a couple of close calls with reefs and a stop for repairs, Cook headed across the Indian Ocean, around the southern tip of Africa, and back to England to end his first circumnavigation of the globe in 1771. One of the problems 18th century sailors faced was the danger of diseases, among them scurvy, a natural or nutritional deficiency, which could kill men on long voyages. But none of Cook's men suffered from that disease because of his meticulous planning. He kept his ship clean and well ventilated and insisted they include in their diet cress, sauerkraut, and orange extract. Upon his return, he became well known not only for his explorations and discoveries, but also because of his excellent health of his crew. Promoted to the rank of commander, he planned another ambitious voyage in 1772, this time with 2 ships, the Resolution and the Adventure. He sailed to the east, rounding Africa and passing near Antarctica to then explore the southern Pacific islands. He charted Tonga and Easter Island and discovered New Caledonia and the South Sandwich Islands. He again confirmed that there was no other Pacific continent than Australia, and then headed up the east coast of South America and home to England in 1775, ending his second voyage around the world. Once again, he returned with his crew in excellent health. He was finally promoted to the rank of captain. He was also elected to the Royal Society, where he presented a paper about his success in preventing scurvy, and consequently was awarded one of its highest honors. In July 1776, he set off again with the ships, the Resolution and the Discovery. The goal of the voyage was to determine if there was a northwest passage that would allow sea travel between the Atlantic and the Pacific. He took the eastern route around Africa, passed by New Zealand a third time, and headed north, thereby discovering Hawaii, which he named the Sandwich Islands in honor of the Earl of Sandwich, the first Lord of the Admiralty. I'm not saying that right. Some research indicates that Cook's arrival on the Big Island of Hawaii happened during a time when the natives were worshiping the Polynesian god Lono. And that was long, but that was interesting. So it kind of reminded me of Christopher Columbus. That's our explorer that we remember from around the same era, that was discovering where these continents were, where the countries were, how they're connected, what the oceans are. And as he's going, he's mapping out, he's drawing a map. So he's definitely an explorer, and in discovering, he's a discoverer. So I wanted to talk about a couple things here. The Royal Society is a British government association that promotes research in sciences. That's what the Royal Society is. And then the Terra Australis is a southern continent that early European map makers believed to exist. Those are just a couple words that might help you understand this just a little bit better. Okay, so as I read that, were you guys able to annotate and underline and put a star by, and just kind of mark some things that you found interesting or relevant or important as I read those? Good, Bronx. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I believe there's one more page to the reading.
Did I miss something?
I think on the last page, you can flip it over. There's another,
Oh, there is. Weird.
because I flipped it over and I was like, oh, I guess we're done.
Thank you. I did not know that was there. Awesome. Okay, let me keep going. So you guys can keep annotating here. This is good. Okay, possibly the shape of his ship resembled certain objects, including the Lono worship. It is thought because of this that the natives treated him with great reverence, perhaps even imagining him as an incarnation of Lono himself. His third voyage continued along the coast of North America, where he explored and mapped the coast from California to the Bering Strait at the top of Northwest Alaska. He then returned to Hawaii, where he met his end in 1779. When some natives stole one of Cook's small boats, he planned to take the chief of Hawaii hostage until his stolen property was returned. However, there arose a confrontation with a crowd of natives, and in the chaos, some shots were fired, but the Hawaiians attacked with knives, spears, and stones. The British sailors retreated to the beach, but when Cook turned his back to launch a boat, he was hit on the head and then stabbed to death. Cook was not seen alive again, and it is believed by some that according to the custom, the islanders cut the flesh from his body and roasted it, cleaning and preserving the bones as honored relics. Later, some of his remains were returned to the British, who gave him a formal burial at sea. Captain James Cook's fame is widespread, and he, along with his men, made countless recognized contributions to the scientific community in the 18th century. Many dozens of books and films document his life and achievements. Schools, buildings, landmarks, coins, ships, and monuments are found throughout the world in commemoration of his excellent leadership his incredible explorations, and his unfortunate demise. Man, we were missing something major here. Thank you, Bronx. I mean, that was that was a big part of the story. I don't know why I didn't turn it over, but that kind of finalizes everything. That gives his whole life, so that makes sense. And ew, they roasted his flesh. That's kind of, man, I'm glad they don't do that anymore. Sounds like cannibalism to me, but they didn't sound like they ate him. They just, I don't know. I don't think we want to know, right? Let's just leave it at that, okay? We're not roasting chicken here. We're not roasting Mike. All right. So let's see what time we got. Where are we at? Oh man, 7 minutes. All right. I'm gonna have to blast through this here. Go ahead and get out a clean sheet of paper. And go ahead and label it like we always do. Name, date, Captain Cook. And we're just going to put notes here. Just going to take a few notes on this. By the way, you go ahead and skip a line and let's put subject. That's an E, by the way, is Captain Cook. And then our topics. All right, let's list some topics. We did hear about his early life in the beginning, right? What are some other things, other topics that this article addressed? Talked about, go ahead, Bronx, if you have one.
Can you repeat that?
So we're making a list of possible topics because remember the topics are the things that support Captain Cook, like about him, right? We talked about there, we learned about his early life, right? What are some other things that we learned about Captain Cook that maybe you underlined information that was about him? What else did we learn?
Well, we learned that he was really smart and he was great at cooking.
Okay. At cooking? Did we learn about him cooking?
No, darn it.
That was his name. But he had skills. Let's put that. He had some
And
skills.
yeah, he's really good at also driving boats and stuff.
Yes, he was good at driving boats. Yeah, I guess we could call it that. Sailing. In fact, let's put a little semicolon here and put what could we say about his skills? He was we could put sailing. He was good at sailing. He was good at being health conscious. Remember, he kept his crew healthy. I'll just put healthy. He kept his crew healthy. And he also was good. He was smart. I mean, you said that, Bronx. What were some of the things that he studied, Paisley? Do you remember when he studied different subjects in on the side he was studying?
Trigonometry.
Yeah.
And
Trigonometry, that's a type of math. That's a higher level math, right?
astronomy.
Yep, astronomy. So we can put that he was smart. We can put trigonometry. Science. He was really good with math and science. Even with the skills, you could talk about how he was meticulous, or he was really careful about details, especially when it came to the health of his crew, which is really key because most captains or lieutenants or anybody in charge of those ships in those days didn't pay attention to those details. And so their crew would get sick. Remember that word scurry, I think it is, or something like that. Let me look back here. What was the name of the sickness they used to get? Because it was dirty. A lot of times on the ship, they weren't clean. So they probably didn't have a place to wash their hands normally. Let's see, where is it at? On the bottom of page 84, it's talking about the danger of diseases, scurvy, that's what it's called, a nutritional disease, deficiency, because maybe the food was spoiled or their hands were dirty and maybe they didn't have, a way to keep clean. But that was important to Captain Cook, to keep clean, right? So we can talk about, what's that word they used? Is it meticulous? He was what was the word they used about him? He paid attention. Yeah, meticulous planning. I'm going to put that here. Do you know what meticulous means?
I think it means smart.
Yeah, partly smart. But it would be like, let's give an example. Like, let's say your family is going camping. And all you know is you need to have a sleeping bag and some clothes, right? But probably your mom or your dad is meticulous about planning, because they're thinking about, what are you going to have for breakfast? What pots and pans do I need to make those meals? What kind of utensils do I need? I need a spatula. I need a whisk if I'm making pancakes. You see how there's like details. So the broad details of what you need when you go camping, but your family or your parents or grandparents or whoever, they're going to plan meticulous things so that you have everything you need, right? So that's what that means, meticulous planning. He probably had wash bins for his sailors to be able to wash their hands and their face, or they probably had a separate area in boxes where the food was that was separate than maybe where the bathroom is for the sailors. And for instance, like he planned out, let's keep the food on the opposite end of the ship than the bathrooms. So other sailors didn't think through it that meticulously. I'm going to go ahead and help you make this list. So another thing that was talked about was his death, how he died, what made him famous, his fame. Part of it was his planning. And then we also heard about his first voyage, his second voyage, and his third voyage. All right. Those were just some of the topics that we found in this whole article here. There's more than this, but this is a pretty good list to start. So remember, your report is 3 paragraphs, so you only need to choose 3 of these topics. And then you go back into the story and find the facts about it. So let's say for the first one, and I want actually both of you to circle this. Go ahead and circle early life. And that's going to be a good way to introduce this article. You're summarizing it, basically taking a lot of facts in here, and you're kind of limiting what you're going to report on. So now on a clean sheet of paper, I know I'm out of time, but I'm going to go over just a little bit here. Go ahead and get one more piece of paper out and label it. And you're just going to work on Roman numeral 1 this week. I'm just going to call this one KWO for your keyword outline, because that's what we always do. And you're going to do Roman numeral 1 And then I want you to write here. I'm going to give you Roman numeral 1 first, because I think it's best to start with this early life. So I'm going to put, hold on a second. His name is James Cook, right? I'm going to just put JC for his initials, and I'm going to circle it. So that'll be a little symbol so that I can remember his name is James Cook. In fact, up here, let's just make a note of that. James Cook, so you can remember his name. You can circle JC. So when you go to write your outline, you're like, JC, that sounds like Jesus Christ. But no, we're not writing about Jesus Christ today. We're writing about James Cook. So just in case you forget, you can circle that up at the top there. All right. Although Jesus Christ, man, I would love to write about him. That would be awesome. Anyway, back to this. So now the next word I'm going to put here is actually 2 words, early life. And then I'm going to draw a line here. So you get to decide what other word you want to use for Roman numeral 1. And then your homework is going to be to finish this. Now, you're going to focus on his early life and look for facts about his early life and make lists here, okay? And for number 6, I do want you to put parentheses around that, because 6 is optional. You can do 1 through 5. I just put 6 on here in case you will have more you want to write about. But if you can only come up with 5 facts about his early life, that's where you're going to list these. Okay, if you only come up with 5, that's okay. If you have 6, that's good too. So that's what you're going to focus on this week. And then I do want you to write that paragraph after you finish your keyword outline for that. Does that make sense, you guys? So you're going to make your list here, look back on the story. You're going to focus on his early life only for this Roman numeral 1. So I don't want you to talk about his voyages or his astronomy or anything like that. That we're going to come up with that later. Just focus on his early life, what year he was born, where he lived, what he did before he started sailing. And that's all going to be in that first paragraph, really. Okay, you're going to look for those facts that focus on his early life. You guys have any questions about that? No questions. Paisley, do you have any questions? Okay. So your grammar, you're going to finish up just Roman numeral 1. That's all you're going to focus on. And then write that paragraph focusing on his early life. And then I'll see you guys next week. That's it for today.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day, you guys.
Thank you.